let's hope. Let's hope that works. Got 3 people watching already, which is pretty sweet, but hey, Bluey, Bluey comes in. One of the few nights that I'm not actually doing COD streams. I have been missing your stream though. I haven't seen you in DMZ either. Well, to be fair, I haven't been on DMZ a lot. I've been playing a lot of Warzone lately. Nice. I didn't hear what your you had a important thing to, but you didn't follow up with it. So I didn't know what that important thing was. Hey, Costume Winsy. We're actually, if anybody wants to come up and shitty chat. Some random geek said that I'm low. Am I low for you guys? I am doing a politics stream tonight, basically. Can y'all hear me all right?
Personal. Have the power to set the tone from start to stop with Spotify Premium. Listen to all your favorite playlists
Anyways.
in any order and download any track to play offline. All with no ad breaks. Just uninterrupted music listening.
You get a Spotify ad, sorry. All right. Cool. Well, that I don't want to pay for Spotify Premium, so that's what you get. So tonight I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I want to bring this music down though. I want to do something a little different because I've been playing a lot of COD, but politics is what I like to watch. Let's see if I can get this to come up. So today one of my mutuals, Open Bookshelf, had a really good summation about the election, and I wanted to play some of that.
This is not the victory we'd like it to be. This is the perfect embodiment of the phrase, we've won the battle, but we've not yet won the war. Let's go through the election results so far. Labour won a landslide, thanks in no small part to tactical voting. People were more interested, more invested in getting the Tories out, bringing about change, than they were in avoiding voting for Labour. Fair enough. Remember yesterday when I put forward one of the arguments for tactical voting, which was they didn't want to split the Labour vote and risk getting the Tories back in again? And I said that it's very unlikely that the Labour vote will be split. Instead, it's more likely that the Tory vote will be split as they lose the former UKIP voters, you know, the ones that got them their majority.
What I find interesting, she brings up a really good point, and that is that essentially Brexit voters were with the Tories, and when it went south, those people went to Reform.
In 2019, as these voters as a bloc shifted to Reform UK. This is exactly what happened. You might remember my video from last year, where I broke down how the first past the post system meant that nearly 4 million UKIP voters got no seats in Parliament in 2015, but when the majority of those UKIP votes swung to the Conservatives in 2019, these same votes translated into a massive majority for the Tories. Yeah, those are exactly the votes that they lost this time around.
Do you understand what she's getting at here? She's basically saying that this wasn't a huge swing. It was basically a splitting of the vote for Conservatives, and that people were tactically voting to get the Conservatives out.
And you can hate Reform UK as much as you want. That doesn't mean that these votes shouldn't count towards something. And I personally would rather see these 4 million or so votes translated into Parliament as the 12 or so % of the voting population that they represent, rather than see the Tory majority that we got in 2019, which artificially translated this 12 or so % into an overriding majority. Because the country didn't get more right-wing since 2015. This election just proves that. Those votes just swung artificially to the Tories in 2019, and they wanted to keep them. So they started passing unnecessary authoritarian legislation to appease these voters.
So basically the Tories, and this makes sense. This makes total sense. What she's getting at here is that when Brexit happened, basically you had people from Nigel Farage's, whatever you want to call it, UKIP or whatever, and they came over and voted Boris Johnson in. And what happened yesterday was, is it yesterday now? Yeah, what happened yesterday was just it was people wanting to get Brexit done, right? And those voters basically got sick of not having anything that they wanted accomplished. So let's carry on with this video though.
Instead of actually, governing the country.
And that's the thing, they tried to get those voters by going further to the right. And this is something that I talked about a few years back when Corbyn lost. I basically said that Labour had no place to go because they couldn't go to the right because you basically had Lib Dem policy. I mean, they would be encroaching in on that. But what ended up happening is the Tories went a lot more right, so that gave Labour the ability to go right as well. This is basically the ratchet effect in happening. So with that being said, that's why you saw Labour changing its stance on trans rights. You saw them changing so much.
Now we've got a Labour government that won a landslide without having won any of those right-wing votes. What does this mean? It means that those voting Labour this time around have voted for the need for change. They voted for a move away from the right-wing extremism that has characterised the majority of the last decade. And now we need to let Starmer know what that means. We need to tell him and his party what we expect from this government.
I don't think they care. I mean, I don't think they care. Honestly, I think this is one of those things that it's not going to matter whether so I'm an American that lives in the UK, and I see through the lens of U.S. politics. It's similar. It is very similar. People were saying that Joe Biden was going to be pushed left. He never was. If anything, he went more right. It doesn't happen. And Vic Lynch and other people are saying that we need to push them left. They've gotten rid of all the labor support, and now they depend on business. So how does Vic Lynch doesn't have any leverage, essentially?
So following Femi, this is what I expect of this Labour government. Labour won a landslide because we want change. The change I want to see is really easy. I want a government defined by democratic accountability. I want this Labour government to legislate against itself. I want this Labour government to pave the way for a more equal and representative system where everyone from Reform UK to Workers' Party voters.
What she's getting at here is first past the post. And that is not going to happen. First past the post. I mean, to getting rid of first past the post. You don't know anything. I mean, it's the same in the U.S. Essentially, you get to a certain point and it doesn't matter. So essentially, and some places in the U.S. are going to rank choice voting. So you say, I want the first person. If they don't win, I want the second person. So it's more representative. It's your vote matters more, essentially. And some random geek said the current Labor leader is quite much like the current Dems in the U.S. Sort of. I mean, Keir Starmer has abandoned every policy just about that he had as Labor leader. He just recently did a U-turn on trans rights, and he's basically said, even if you are a trans woman that has a gender recognition certificate, you've had surgery, you're living your life, you have to use the men's. That's what he said. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely gross. Custom Winsy says in the chat, it's absolutely disgusting. And I don't think this is going to end. I think they're going to govern. They have moved themselves to the right to give them space to govern. So they're the responsible conservatives, essentially. They've abandoned their roots. So I don't expect anything to be any different. It's just going to be less obvious. The cruelty, it reminds me of the difference between Biden and Trump. In policy, it's not a lot different. It's just done with a smile. Essentially, it's the same policy, but Biden's not going around shoving leaders and talking with bravado. He's talking like a politician. That's the only difference. It's the same damn policies. POTUS for us on here said he's always said same two parties, same donors, and that's exactly the case. And in a lot of cases, it's APAC. But we won't get into that tonight.
Are represented. I want proportional representation.
Some random geek in the chat, in the Twitch chat, said Biden is more presidential. That's exactly right. But he's still a war criminal.
But proportional representation is just the start. I want a Labour government that takes protests seriously, that legalises protest, that rolls back the authoritarian legislation of the last 3 years.
But Keir Starmer has said that he's not going to do that. He's already said he's not going to do that. By the way, if you are on Twitch or YouTube, well, I'm sorry. But if you are on, TikTok, you can come on with me. If you want to come up, then just request and I'll bring you up.
Because we can see that you take protester demands seriously. It was written over every manifesto this time around. We know that you know that protest is a legitimate democratic form of political participation, as important as casting a vote every 4 or 5 years.
They aren't going to roll back anything the Tories have done. They're not going to. If they do, I will be shocked.
You all took the demands of Insulate Britain, Just Stop Oil, the Free Palestine movement. You took these demands seriously when it came to winning our votes. Prove to us that this wasn't just an election stunt. Prove to us that...
That's the thing, though. The Tories did not. They didn't offer anything. It was a weird strategy, but it actually worked. I'm supposed to encourage you to send gifts, but you don't have to. I'm going to refine this over time. That being said, because I'm going to get back into doing this on a regular basis, once a week. But things are not going to change in terms of they won't introduce things that are awful, but they are not going to get any better. They're not going to remove legislation that they've previously passed, that the Tories passed. None of that. They're not getting rid of the two. I mean, what's really gross is there's a cap, a two-child benefit cap. And for the money that they could spend, it's something like £1 billion. It's not a lot. And they could bring so many children out of poverty. But they're not going to do it. They're going to keep it.
You're going to use your majority for us, to speak for us, to come through for us, the people you represent.
The one thing that I mean, I hope that happens, but I don't think it's going to. I think the political reality is they have 5 years. Well, they think they have 5 years. But the reality of what's going to happen is that they are going to, in this much the same way as what's going on in the United States, they are going to set up a fascist government to come after them. That's going to happen.
Prove that we weren't wrong to put any faith in you whatsoever.
Oh. So, I agree with a lot of what a lot of open bookshelves said on that, but we'll see how it goes. Hello, Rev. Everybody that's joining in, thanks for coming in. So let's go through some of these casualties. I've muted the sound because I don't want to get YouTube violation. So Liz Truss lost. It says our shortest serving prime minister. One of my friends who lives in the area drove over and saw someone put lettuce on a piece of lettuce because they said that basically that lettuce lasted longer than her premiership. So I'm not shocked that that she got kicked. Novara Media did a video, and the people in her constituency were not happy.
That is a disgrace.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So, yeah, she lost her seat. Not shocking. She's not a very good politician. She went to the Heritage Foundation and basically blamed oh fuck, what did she blame? She blamed the deep state She blamed the deep state for her having to step down. But it was Jacob Rees-Mogg. He is like, he's like the stereotypical villain. Like the rich guy with the top hat. That is Jacob Rees-Mogg. And it's kind of funny. But says the voters of Northeast Somerset finally tired of the MP once dubbed as the honorable member for the 18th century. Yeah. So not surprising that he lost. Oh, this one, Teresa Coffey. Oh my God. Somebody that never should have ever been elected to anything. She got rid of, or she wanted, when she was Liz Truss's deputy prime minister, she wanted to get rid of smoking cessation programs. Smoking is the #1 most preventable death cause in the UK. And she wanted to get rid of smoking cessation programs. I mean, she wanted pharmacists to be able to have more power to see patients. It was just, oh my God. She should not be anywhere in government. Nowhere. But yeah. Scary stuff. Green Man J came in the chat and then left. I feel offended. Oh, hey Jay. Just chatting about the fantastic election. I thought I saw you pop out. But the election over here. So this person over here, she wanted to get rid of smoking cessation programs when it's the #1 most preventable death cause in the UK. She's an awful politician. And I'm shocked that she didn't lose before this. It says Theresa May's deputy PM lost her majority in Suffolk Coastal in a shock first-time win for Labour. The former environmental secretary had previously done her best to eradicate this constituency completely by voting against any measures to prevent climate change and rising sea levels. Oh dear. Oh dear. Some random geek in the chat said Rees-Mogg can now sleep on the job and not get caught on camera. Yeah, exactly. He's the guy that got caught snoozing, like sprawled out in the chambers. So Penny Mordaunt did a U-turn on trans rights so she could run for leadership. See how that worked out for her? Not so well. But yeah. Wow. I mean, she went from challenging Rishi Sunak for leadership to basically getting drummed out of office. So Grant Shapps, this guy has 15 different names. Whatever. This is I don't know who this person is, Gillian Keegan, but it says she lost a seat that's been held by the Tory party for 100 years. That's special. I don't know who Alex Chalk is. This guy. So, this makes me so happy. So, a lot of the TERFs that had their little meetings in Parliament, it was because of this guy. I am so happy that he is gone. He is social conservative, Christian conservative. He's like every Republican in the South in America. Awful. So yeah, that was some of the casualties. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know, Finn Dog is in the house. Hey Finn Dog, welcome. Just talking about UK politics. Anyways, one of the people that lost was well, the S&P. If y'all don't know, the S&P are essentially the Scottish National Party, but they had like a 60 seats. They're trying to break away from the UK and become independent. That's their whole kind of shtick. They got walloped. They went from 64 seats, I believe, to 10. And it was interesting because one of the people who, let me see if I can bring that up. So Nicola Sturgeon was the PM basically for the First Minister of Scotland. She headed the SNP. I want to be careful because I don't want to open. I don't. Okay, that's good. Because it's private. It's private. You can't see it. I'm trying to open up Telegram, but it's not really helping me. Back in my day when I could actually see. Yeah. So essentially the S&P got their ass handed to them. There was an MP that lost. Her name is Joanna Cherry. Absolutely hates. She might try to sue me. Isn't a fan of trans people. Obsessed with trans people. She got her ass handed to her. And she blamed Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola Sturgeon has not been the leader of the S&P since February of 2023. But here's the thing. She took. I want to read something. This is from an article from the Sun. Typically, I wouldn't talk about it, but from the Sun because they're assholes. But it says Miss Sturgeon, who had been providing political commentary through the night, which was saw the S&P drop to the fourth largest party in Westminster, clapped back at Miss Cherry's claims. Miss Sturgeon replied, "After tonight's result, I'm not in the business to dismiss anyone's criticism. Joanna's 3 victories were delivered under my leadership. I tried very hard to progress the Indy case to find a route to take that decision again." And that's independence from the UK, essentially. It says with a Westminster undemocratic vote, there is a lack of a legal route at the moment. Anyway, Joanna's suggestions on how that will be overcome are missing. I am sorry that Joanna lost her seat, but I'm also sorry for every S&P candidate who lost her seat tonight. The former leader who stepped down from the Minister First Minister's office in February of 2023 added, "Often you find out in these kind of positions you're neither the hero or the villain. I delivered 3 general election victories, of course. I take responsibility where the party is now. For anybody to take refuge in somehow it's all my fault would be taking the easy solution or response to this result." Following her defeat to Labor, Cherry stated that the party would not be facing a rout if Nicola Sturgeon had governed well. But here's the thing. There are 10 people that actually kept their seats, but she wasn't one of them. What I thought was funny as well is the other person that criticized her was the head of Alba. He had a little misconduct going on in the SNP, so he left and formed his own party. Essentially, it's the Brexit or the Reform Party of Scotland. It's the Conservative Party. Also, George Galloway lost in Rochdale as well, which is, to me, I'm okay with that. He called gay people not normal. So, yeah, that's special. Anyway, so I think it says a lot because Alba, his party, not only did they not win, they lost so bad that they didn't get their deposit back. You have to suck really hard to not get your money back. Jay in TikTok chat says Galloway made pronoun jokes as well. Yeah. He was essentially, he was trying to pull a Bernie Sanders. He was trying to bring in the right of the party. He didn't know who his constituency was. So it was like a cell phone. But yeah, it was special that those two people, the two people that lost last night big, didn't take any ownership, but the former First Minister of Scotland, who hasn't been in the job for a year and some change, she went ahead and said, "It's my fault." Yeah, Jay says his alliance with Jackson Hinkle makes more sense now. Yeah, exactly. 100%. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I don't think voting works. I don't think you're going to see any different. I think that you have a corporate duopoly. How Starmer got in office was essentially by becoming corporate. So yeah. Yep. I'm gonna turn the sound back on since that had the sound underneath it. I'm gonna take. Hopefully that won't get me taken off YouTube just by humming it. This is a Jupiter Ball made this video talking about businesses, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Check this out.
This is a quote from a French business person that, under the cover of anonymity, has admitted to the Financial Times that they are thinking of supporting Marine Le Pen's fascist right-wing party in the upcoming French elections. He's not
Shock.
the only one. According to this report, a lot of business people are thinking of doing the same. Why are they doing that? Because of the alliance of the French parties against the threat of fascism, the New Popular Front. As a political program, the NFP offers a rolling back of Macron's pension reforms, an increase of public salaries and welfare, and the freezing of food and energy prices. And they want to cost this on the basis of progressive taxation. Marine Le Pen's National Front's policies, don't bother to correct me, I will call them National Front until the day I die, I don't care how they rebrand as, doesn't veer a lot from this type of interventionism. They also propose to revoke Macron's pension plans. They also propose to freeze utility prices and cut VAT on them, and overhauling the national procurement laws in France, in defiance of European law. And their program is uncosted. So why shouldn't you be surprised that big business is siding with fascists? Because this is not the first time it happened. Let me introduce you to Fritz Thyssen. This scion of a 19th century industrialist German family was one of the biggest backers of the party that won the elections in Germany after the burning of the Reichstag. And why did he do this? The threat of Bolshevism. He saw what happened in Russia, he saw the speed with which socialism was spreading in Germany, and he wanted to protect his private property, and he wanted to protect capitalist ideology. And of course, he, like the Krupp family, like the Opel family, like the Agnellis and the Pirellis in Italy, supported fascism because it allowed them the opportunity to crush at its inception socialist, workers' rights organizations, land reform activists.
That's what many people don't realize, is that fascism is a corporate. It's in the corporate interest, basically.
Because they put what they would call stability, which is the ability for them to continue to do their business and maintain their private property, above a basic concept of democracy. If you think that this choice is not happening in every single boardroom across the globe at this moment that is evaluating the political risk of dealing with fascists, think again. Never underestimate what Western capitalism will do to preserve its own survival under the shape of a nebulous concept of stability. And don't be
Whatever
fooled. What
that
you're
means.
seeing at the top of the pyramid at this moment is being discussed on the houses of the people that want to preserve their privilege at all costs, at all levels of society. It's a hard lesson to learn, but pay attention. People will put their concept of comfort over your interests and rights and over their long-term prospects every single day of the week.
Absolutely on point. And it's no surprise that big business is doing that. I'm not shocked. This is actually I want to play something a little different. There is an economist that I follow on TikTok. His name's Richard Murphy, and he talks about economics.
Economics is not alchemy. Alchemy was the ancient belief that you could turn things which were not gold into gold if only you could find the right formula. It was, of course, untrue, but people as notable as Sir Isaac Newton thought it might be possible. In other words, even intelligent people can make massive category errors of that sort. And our politicians are making massive category errors with regard to economics. They think that the whole subject is about what you cannot do. And that's not the case. Economics is not about what you cannot do, which is the consequence of our politicians and, let's be honest, some of our economists claiming that economics is all about the shortage of money, when there is no shortage of money, because the government can create as much of it as it likes.
This is pure truth right here. And it's just an excuse. They want to act like they want to act like that there's only a finite amount of money until they want to do something. Theresa May's magic money tree, and all of a sudden there's money to do stuff. They can give money to the DUP, whatever. It doesn't matter. They can create money out of thin air. There is a magic money tree, but it's for businesses. It isn't for people.
Instead, economics is about what you can do. Now, this is what modern monetary theory, to which I broadly subscribe, says most of all. Instead of saying you can't do things, modern monetary theory reflects John Maynard Keynes, the greatest economist of the 20th century, who said, whatever we can do, we can afford. In other words, if it is possible to have clean rivers, decent hospitals, schools that aren't falling down, education that works, social care for those who need it, and so on, you can make up your own list. If it is possible to do those things because the resources to deliver them exist within our society, then we can afford to have them. There is no constraint that is created by a shortage of money within government, because the government creates all the money we have.
It's so simple and true, but people refuse to believe it. They believe that the bank has a checkbook when the bank doesn't. The bank has money.
Look at a banknote, see who made it, and then you'll see the answer to the question, who makes money? So in that case, this idea that economics is about what we cannot do is not right. Economics is about what we can do. But we don't need to believe in alchemy to do those things, because the possibility of achieving them exists because the government can enable them. In other words, we aren't, as Labour is trying to do at this moment, hanging their hat on the belief that somehow, in wild celebration of the Tories being out of office, business and consumers like you and me will spend so much more money that growth will happen. Instead, economics says that, well, governments can deliver that growth by delivering the things that we really need, like, as I just mentioned, decent healthcare, education, and so on. So there's nothing magic about economics. Economics is about what is possible. And we have to decide what is possible and what we want. But nothing about economics says,
Thank you for the love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
you can't have what we can do because we can always afford it.
I don't really care.
So I absolutely love that because it kind of dispels what most people think. And Jupiter Ball said something similar. I want to play that.
To the world as it is, rather than the world as liberals of the left wish it to be.
There is nothing that I've learned to despise more than cowardice that disguises itself as pragmatism. When David Lammy says that he accepts the world that exists rather than the world that the liberals and the left would wish to exist, what he's saying is that aspiration to change the world is childish. What he's saying is that the work of people like Patrice Lumumba, like Martin Luther King, like Malcolm X, like Shirley Chisholm, like the thousands of unnamed people who fought for things that seemed beyond reach, like the end of colonialism, the end of apartheid, are useless, are childish. Because these people and the unnamed people that fought for it had the temerity to desire a world that was better and more colorful and freer than the reality that they actually had. Because that is the people who are encouraging you to adjust to a reality that is bad for you are saying. But Elliot, you say, we have to deal with the realities that face us. As a representative of a country, he has to adjust to the partners that he has. Being practical is not kowtowing. Being practical is not normalizing. And what people like David Lammy and Keir Starmer are doing at this moment.
Actually, they're doing nothing. They're doing nothing. Some random geek is on TikTok. welcome. I'm glad that I could cause you to come over here and pollute your mind with TikToks. Oh, Lord have mercy. I am. It's saying no sound because I didn't say anything. So yeah, I the thing is, through this whole election cycle, and the numbers back it up, is that the people wanted to get rid of the Tories. They didn't want Keir Starmer. So yeah, he's offered nothing on purpose.
Is the normalization of relationships not only with the country, but the tacit acceptance on an international stage of the foul ideas that they represent. To achieve power, they relinquish their principles, and like a lot of people before and after them, they will have to find a way to justify psychologically and intellectually what they have done. Don't let their message of appeasement to xenophobes, to transphobes, to racists, to genocidal war criminals ever divert you from your path of finding and creating a better world.
That's the thing too, though. All that he's talking about isn't just the Tories. I mean, Keir Starmer was saying that that Israel had the right to defend itself. It does not. It does not. He was wrong. And he said that they had the right to withhold food, water, and electricity. And they did not.
Yourself. Because a better world is possible. It just doesn't fit with their ambition and self-interest.
100%. 100%. Something that I wanted to talk about too is Nigel Farage and you've reformed
To the world as it is.
not that
rather
one.
than-
Nigel Farage already has this extremely inflated, empowered voice in our media. He is treated as if he is the main opposition voice. He's treated as if he is the main voice of those who dissent from the main two parties. Are going to shape what the Conservative Party mutate into over the next few years, because I don't think the Conservative Party is dead. I think it is dead.
Here's the thing. I said back when Corbyn left the leadership of the Labour Party, I said it. I called it. I was like, where do they have to go? The thing is, the Conservative Party went more to the right. So Labour had to go and fill that void and become more right themselves. But I don't see that happening here. Conservatives do not trust they don't trust the conservatives that went over to reform do not trust conservatives. They aren't going to get those people back, even if they go extremely right. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them try to go back to a more David Cameron like, but they've kind of boxed themselves in, really. So it'll be interesting to watch.
As we knew it, the question is which of the two traditions within the Conservative Party that have been vying for power, the neoliberal globalization side and the more reform-esque nativist side, which side is going to win out and be the main opposition to Labour over the next few years.
It's interesting. It'll be interesting to watch, because what is going to happen? Conservatives, I have to wonder, are they going to have any room to do anything? I just don't see where. Nigel Farage has that, but it is scary. It is scary because there's 60 million people in this country, and 4 million people voted for Nigel Farage's party, and that's kind of scary. But it's understandable, because when they don't have anything, Nigel Farage's party was not Labour and wasn't the Conservative Party. And I think a lot of people just want change. Something I'm gonna play this. I want to play a couple more videos and then I'm gonna jump off here. But thanks to everybody that came in tonight. Wow, we're almost to 1,000 likes. I don't think I've ever had 1,000 likes in a live. We're gonna do this more. But thank you all that gave gifts to. I wanted to play this.
Lastly, I'd like to pay tribute to my fellow candidates who put themselves forward for public service.
And if you don't know what it says here, it says PM Keir Starmer says, "In the room right here beats the heart of our democracy," and there's a bloke in an Elmo suit stood 2 yards from him.
Because in this room, right here,
and this is one of my favorite content creators, Davey Moo.
Beats the heart of our democracy.
Elmo no want supply side reform. Elmo want UBI.
I'm going to ask you really...
Oh my God. Is that not the best? Davey is awesome. So, one of the things that, because this popped up, Democratic politics, this is common. This is Crutches and Spice. She's a disability advocate on TikTok, here on TikTok. And she had somebody comment, "How can I call people stupid without being ableist?" And what she talks about here is amazing.
Pointed question as I do my makeup, because I have to go in a couple minutes. Hair done. No, but why do you want to? So this question asks, how can you call people stupid without being ableist? Why do you want to? Can somebody answer that? And given that this was asked in the context of the election, I'm going to answer it in context of the election. Year after year after year, right? The biggest complaint about Democrats and how they communicate with people is that they are more interested with being intellectually superior than actually building coalitions with people. And that they use their political position to flex intellect over anything else. So my question is, why do you want to? Why? What does that serve exactly? Right? What are you doing exactly that would warrant you wanting to call somebody stupid? At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself what is more important. Do you want to actually gain voters, or do you want to be smug?
This is important, because this happens in the UK as well. When people are talking about reform, you can't always say, oh, these people are so ignorant, they're racist, whatever. Can't say that. You have to understand that some people, and it's like I was saying, some people want a choice and they don't see it in labor and they don't see it in the conservatives. Now, that's some random geek in the chat says, and Twitch chat says, I also have to learn how to be able, how to not to be ableist as well. The thing is, it's the smugness. It doesn't do anything. Democrats are awful with this online. They will talk about, if you don't vote for Donald Trump, you are not a smart person. I mean, if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you're not a smart person. And it's hard. It's like, how can you do that and expect people to come to you? You're just alienating people. Some random geek in Twitch chat says there are also a lot of liberals that are that smug too. Yes, a lot of liberals. And it's not good. It doesn't gain you anything. It may make you feel better about yourself, but it doesn't help your cause. So, yeah.
Because liberals, as much as they posture and argue with people, particularly online, they're not really moving the needle on anything. In fact, there are many people that will say that they decided not to vote Democrat simply because they're being treated like this, you know? And that's what you have to ask yourself. So, would you prefer Biden winning, or would you prefer to be superior? And we see this all the time in the way we talk.
Exactly. Pick your poison. It'll make you feel better, but you're, not good.
Well, the South, uneducated voters, do your own research. That doesn't work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. So, what would you like? What would you like to have happen? We could talk about anti-intellectualism all day long. We could talk about, you know, the right's disdain of intellect and people with degrees and people with knowledge, and that is an abundant conversation that deserves to be had. But realistically, the other side of that is that people play into it. People decide that it's more important for them to get a barb in or a jab in rather than being effective communicators.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to win an election, or do you want to be smug? Because you can't do both.
But, you know, this still, like, talking like this to people still shuts people down. It doesn't change much, really. That is so much. And also, if you actually want to build a community with people, build these coalitions, build these strong connections with people that get people to trust you, to make the move that you want to make, at the end of the day, like, the idea of being more superior than them will shut them down.
Lastly, I'd like to pay tribute to my fellow candidates.
I want to play one more video before I get out of here. But she's exactly right. If you want to be smug, that's the only thing that you're going to get from that is the smugness. You're not going to get any people coming on your side from that. So this last video, it doesn't kind of fit. But I did see that I didn't play it, and I do want to talk about it.
Trigger warning, I'm going to suck in the next 5 minutes, and not in any pleasurable way. I'm going to be a downer. I hear people speak breathlessly about Labour's victory and their acuity and Starmer's genius, and all I can think of is Macron, his first victory. Because what I see in front of me is not necessarily a victory. I think the French have a word for it. It's called détente, a cessation of hostilities, provided by the undemocratic system of first past the post. Because let's look back at 2019. Jeremy Corbyn, with 10.2 million votes, managed to get, 200-something MPs in the parliament? However, Keir Starmer, with 9.7 million votes, as I saw it in the morning, managed to get 412. Just goes to show that an article that I read regarding the fairness of representation in British politics that stated that this potentially was going to be one of the least representative elections that this country ever had was actually correct. What we're seeing here is not only a Labour victory, it is a Conservative collapse, because the Conservatives went from 13 million to 6-point-something million votes through a combination of absenteeism, because this vote had a really low turnout, especially among the young. An insurgent Reform UK that collected 4 million votes. A ton of tactical voting and hatred for a party that has been in power, being incompetent for the last 14 years. And if you think that somehow the Conservative Party is going to go back into the centre, when the people who still stand as MPs are Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman, Danny Kruger, and they will be in direct competition for attention to Nigel Farage, who now is an MP, I have a bridge to sell you. And because our Labour leadership has already showed itself capable of throwing immigrants and trans people and even women of colour under the bus, I presume that they will be unashamed, trying to get a piece of that bigot vote themselves. So what now? Where's the hope? I think the hope is Leanne Mohammed. I know, she lost to Wes Streeting, Labour Party's favourite gay Christian transphobe, who is a Labour behemoth who is groomed to be yet another white male leader of the Labour Party. As an independent with none of the resources, she managed to get to 585 votes of winning one of the Labour Party's biggest behemoths.
That's what people don't understand. Fin Dog said, I cannot really make fun of someone else not being intelligent if you're not being strategic. Yeah, it's definitely not. That smugness is its own reward. It's the only reward. What Helio's talking about here is something that I found really interesting, because Keir Starmer's vote totals were way down. There was Andrew Feinstein actually ran as an independent and got a lot of votes. There was a Labor candidate that had an economics degree. She had all this stuff. Faiza Shaheen. And they said she wasn't a good quality candidate because she was a Corbynite, basically. And they kicked her out. And the funny thing is, Ian Duncan Smith won that seat. But had they not have done that, she would have won. Because the vote was split 12,000, and Ian Duncan Smith did not get 24,000 votes, if I remember correctly. So essentially, splitting the vote is the only thing. But the people of that constituency, they wanted a change, but they didn't want Labor. Half of them didn't want Labor, and half of them did. So Fin Dog in TikTok chat says Labor didn't so much win as failed to lose. And the thing is, this reminds me of the election in 2020. People weren't voting for Biden. They were voting against Trump.
8 months, all through grassroots campaigning. Even in defeat, she's inspiring. Because she shows the path to all of us of what we have to do in the next 5 years. Start engaging with your local community now. Whether it be the community in which you live, whether it be with the community that you identify with. Establish lines of solidarity. Support workers' rights.
See, and I mean, this is, I'm too much of a leftist to kind of think that we ought to just do this to do this from a voting perspective, dual power. We should be building dual power, and we should be building mutual aid networks, because voting is not going to save us. Voting will not save us. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys tonight. Thank everybody. We are at 930 likes. But I'm excited because this actually worked. There are some parts of the stream that I want to work on. I know there's a glitch kind of thing going on. That I'm not sure why it's happening, but I want to continue this. Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Thank everybody for coming in. Like I said, I'm going to make this a weekly thing. I want to work on kind of the layout and everything, but
That is a disgrace. That is a disgrace.
I don't know where the wows came from. Apparently I've got some other stuff going on, but yeah, I'm gonna make some more of those. I'm really getting good with the green screen too, so y'all have a good night. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Just remember, the only thing that we really have is each other. And Mel comes in at the end. Love you, Mel. Take care. Bye-bye. You people that are on the YouTubes and it's mostly just some random geek. I'm going to sign off now. Take care. Everybody have a good night. We're going to do this some more. I'm looking forward to it. Have a great night.